Hi, everyone. It's Kelly from Tutoring Tips for Teachers, and welcome to the first cozy Zoom chat of 2024. I'm so happy that everyone can make it. We are talking today about group tutoring because we've had some discussion in our Facebook group about how to tutor groups. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit, like really quickly, about how I tutor groups, and then I'm going to open it up to any questions or if anyone else has any other ideas they'd like to share, because I know we have a lot of tutors that do group tutoring, so you might have a different approach to it, and we would love to hear that. But I'll start by telling you my story. So actually started my business with groups. I started 2 years ago, just a little over 2 years ago, and I quickly found out that tutoring one-to-one was going to take up pretty much all of my time, and I wouldn't really make enough money or serve enough students to do this like as an actual job. So I started tutoring groups right away, and it was pretty successful and pretty fun. And I learned sort of how to structure the groups and how to set them up. And then I put that actually into a course called the Group Tutoring Bootcamp, like a small little mini course. So I'm going to make that course available only for this week, though. So if you're watching this video in the future, it probably won't be available. But if you're watching it this week, January 11th, 2024, I will put in the description box below how you can access that course. And in that course, I explain in detail like everything that I've done to set up my groups. But I just want to show you something first. I'm going to share my screen with you. I want to show you why you would want to tutor groups. So this is from the course, the Group Tutoring Bootcamp course, this slide. And this is why you would actually want to tutor groups as opposed to one-to-one. Now, some tutor coaches will tell you, a lot of them will tell you that you should only tutor groups. Now, I don't really agree with that because I actually like tutoring one-to-one as well, but I like to have a mix of groups and one-to-one, and I've always had that mix. And I think if I didn't, my business wouldn't be sustainable. If I just tutored one-to-one, I don't think it would be sustainable, and I don't think I would have been able to leave the classroom or do any of that stuff because I just wouldn't have been able to serve enough students without the groups. So I like to have a mix of groups and one-to-one, but why you'd want to tutor groups is right here. So think about it. If you're tutoring one student and let's say you charge $50 an hour, hopefully you charge more, but let's just say you charge $50 an hour and the family pays you $50 an hour, you're going to earn $50 an hour. And you've only taught one student. So only one student has benefited from your expertise, just one. But if you tutor a group and you can serve, well, in this example, it's 10 students at a time, but even if you can do 3 or 5, whatever the number is. So if you can serve a small group of students, then you're going to be helping more than one student in the same amount of time, and the families can pay you a fraction of the amount. Now, some tutor coaches will say you should charge the same amount for one-to-one tutoring as groups. I don't do that. I charge less for groups, but it's up to you. But even if you do charge less, you're still going to make more, as you can see here. So let's say the families are only paying you $15 an hour. You're going to make 3 times as much at $150 an hour. So the benefit of tutoring groups is that you make more money, which makes your business more sustainable, and your families pay less, or they can pay less. That's up to you, but they can pay much less, so you can offer a service that's more accessible to more families. So that's why we tutor groups. Now, how do you tutor groups? I'm going to try to answer that as quickly as I can. The way that I have done it is I have set it up so that I do it per term. So I would do like a 10-week term, but you can do it however long you want. And I try to align my groups with the school calendar just because I'm tutoring younger kids and their lives revolve around school, right? So I align it like that. So I have 10-week terms, and that's how long my class lasts for. I don't do like homework help or anything like that. I do more focusing on skills. It's skill building, and that's what my business is really about. It's like Joanne Kaminsky calls it closing the gap. She says, you know, there's tutors that close the gap, that really fill in those learning gaps that kids are missing, that they haven't gotten in school, so that they can actually learn how to do math or learn how to read and then have success in school. And then there's other tutors that do homework help. So I don't do homework help. I'm more filling in the gaps. So I'm teaching specific skills. So in that 10-week term, we would teach specific skills. So for example, if it's math, I'm going to use the example of a multiplication boot camp because that's like the easiest group to do. I think that's probably the easiest place to start. So let's say you're doing multiplication boot camp. So you have a 10-week term. You say this is for kids in grade 4 and 5. We're going to do multiplication boot camp for 10 weeks. Our goal is to become, you know, fluent in multiplication facts. We're going to learn, you know, what multiplication is. We're going to build those foundational skills, and then we're going to come out more fluent at the end in our multiplication facts with a better understanding of multiplication. So that's your learning goal. And then you advertise that you're going to be doing that for 10 weeks. Each class you work on multiplication and like gradually building up their skills. And after 10 weeks, the class is finished, but you'll find that most of your students are going to re-enroll for the next 10 weeks. So then you're going to have to probably, you know, take it to the next level in the next 10 weeks or start another class, which is really great because then you can start expanding your business, right? And then I charge them per term. So let's say if I'm charging them, you know, $50 a class, so I would charge them per term. So 50 times 10, I would charge them that much per term. And they would pay that up front. They don't pay per class. They pay it up front at the beginning of the term. And what happens if they're away one day and they miss a class? Well, I can't do a makeup class because it's a group. So I can't have like everyone come and meet again for a makeup class. And because I'm charging them less than I do one-to-one, I don't really want to do a makeup class, like use my precious tutoring time for a makeup class where someone's paying a fraction of the price. So what I do is I give them a free class. So the term is 10 weeks. You get one free class. If you're away one day, there you go. You've used your free class. And if you're not, then you get a free class. So that kind of like eases the burden of, you know, no cancellation, no makeup. That's how I do it. Okay, we're getting some comments here in the chats. Lisa asked, is that 10 students in one group? Yes, Lisa, in that example, it was 10 students in one group. If you were going to do, you know, and that totally depends on the age group and what you're tutoring. But if you were going to do that many students, you may want to get someone to help you out especially if you're doing it with little kids. That's what I do. I have a group with well, hopefully we'll grow to 10 students. There's 6 right now, and I have hired people to help me out with that, because that is a lot for one person. And hello, welcome to the people who have just joined. And Cheryl says that she would have small groups personally, but because I tutor online, if she was in person, okay, online versus in person. Yes, you know what, Cheryl, I've done this online and in person. Right now I'm doing it in person, and in person I have hired people to help me, and it's much easier to hire staff when you're, I think in person. That's my own personal opinion. But when I did it online, I didn't need to hire anyone because it's easier to manage kids online, right? So I have done the groups online and I have done them in person. It can work both ways. So definitely you can use Google Classroom too for both online and in person to enhance your groups. Aurelia asks, what challenges are there for running group classes over the summer? What challenges are there for getting students over the summer? What are some ways to overcome the challenges? Okay, that's a really good question, Aurelia. You know what? The summer is actually a really good time for group classes. And interestingly, I had somebody tell me this week. They asked me if I would be running my group class in the summer because they said they don't really want it now, but in the summer their kids are not in school and they lose all of their skills and they would wish they could attend the class in the summer. But the challenge is that, well, I find with my people that I work with, they're all going on vacation in the summer. So they're at their cottage, they're on a trip, they're here, there, they're everywhere. And the challenge is to get them to commit for the whole summer. They don't, and they can't. So the way to overcome that is to just do it as a boot camp. So do like, again, let's use the multiplication for an example, or let's just use math. Let's say you're teaching grade 3 math. So do it as a boot camp. So don't do it over the whole summer like we meet once every week. Do it for 1 week. So the last week of August, we're going to meet like 3 times that week or 4 times that week. And we're going to really target all of those grade 3 math skills so that when you go to grade 4, you're going to remember what happened in grade 3 and you're going to be ready. So that's the way you do it in the summer. And it's actually a very good time to do that sort of thing, to do that boot camp group tutoring. Summer is the best for that. Yes, and Lisa makes a comment too about online and gearing toward 5 maximum. You know what, Lisa, that's a good number. I think I have done my reading group online. Reading is much trickier than math because you have to kind of make sure they're at the same level, and that's hard. And yeah, 5 was the maximum that I did. So it really depends on what you're teaching and the age group. So that's a really good point. Cheryl had 8 kids for a math camp online, and it did work. But my parents were busy behind the scenes. Does that mean, Cheryl, that they were like getting involved in the class behind the scenes, or they were just doing their own thing behind the scenes?
Yes, Kelly, I have laryngitis.
Oh no!
I'm going to speak as clearly as I can right now.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
goodness.
they were very busy. And it wasn't the fact that the kids couldn't do what I wanted them to do, but it was clicking where I wanted them to click. We had
Oh, I
so
see.
much fun. We had so much fun. I highly recommend it. I am going to do reading camps this summer.
Okay, good. Oh, but you needed the
Sorry,
parents to help you. You needed the parents to help the kids.
just
Okay, that's
clicking. Yeah.
okay. That's an interesting point too. And it depends on, because the way I set it up, I don't need the parents to help. So I can just totally, they can go off and do their own thing. It just depends on how you set it up. I use
Yes.
Google Slides. Hi, Beth. I use Google Slides, so I am completely in control of the screen. That's just the way I do it. And I'm teaching kids as young as 3. So
Mhm.
think about it, 3 to like 7 or 8-year-olds. I've taught online as a teacher in the school, and I know it was a total nightmare trying to get those little kids to use Google Classroom. Oh my God. But so now I've set it up so that the parents don't have to do anything, the kids don't have to do anything. All you have to do is watch the screen, and I take care of the rest. So that's kind of, that depends on how you set it up. And so think about that. Think about the age you're working with and how much you're asking them to do, like how much they have to click on and engage in and stuff. And if, yeah, you might not want the little ones clicking too much. Like just take total control. So you're in control and they don't have to do too much. And the parents appreciate that too, because then they can like go off and cook dinner or do whatever they have to do, right? And welcome, Beth. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We're talking about group tutoring right now. And I'm just seeing what other comments we have. Oh, someone asked, Kyra asked, how do you market your groups? That's like a whole other video. Cheryl said she sent flyers to local schools. Yeah, so flyers, Facebook, um, local advertising sites. That's like a whole other video, how you market them. But that's a really good question. Thank you. And I'm seeing if they're, yep. Oh yeah, and Cheryl was playing math games with manipulatives. Yeah, so it was a lot of clicking, and that's fine. It just depends on how you set it up, and you have to think about yeah, just think about how much you want your kids to be involved on the screen if you're tutoring your groups online. But this works for online and in person. Hello, was that Millie that just joined us?
Yes,
Hi.
ma'am. How are you?
Hi, Millie.
Sorry, I
Good.
just
How are
finished
you?
tutoring, so I'm a little tardy.
Oh, that's okay. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. We're just talking about tutoring groups. Yeah, you tutor groups, right?
Yeah,
You
I had
do.
a workshop not too long ago.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, so Millie knows all about tutoring groups, so that's good. So that's yeah, so that's a quick overview of how I do it. We answered a few questions on the chat. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask that they just want to come out and ask without putting it in the chat? Any questions about how you would structure your group?
What if we aren't working with elementary? So Shelby and I work more with middle and high school level. And I find it difficult to figure out like what to offer a group,
Oh, that's a good
or
question,
because
Cindy.
it's not like those fundamentals like multiplication camp or basic reading skills. But at this point, you know, they're more into algebra and geometry, and they might be, you know, not that there's not a diverse level no matter what age group you're working with.
Yeah,
Obviously, everybody comes to the table at a different level.
yeah.
But especially once they get older, it seems like that diversity kind of spreads. And
Oh,
so, is there anyone that's on here that has worked with students that are older, and what kind of group classes would we offer?
well, I have an idea for you, but I'll let Millie go first because I think she works with older kids.
Yes, I worked with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And as you said, they have a lot of, by the time they get to like 8th grade, different children have different gaps. So what I focus on is always the fundamental basics. So what I did was I had, for example, one of my group classes, it had 5 students in it. It was a fraction. So even though they're going to be doing algebra, pre-algebra, they still have to understand fractions. So when they're solving quadratic equations, fractions are still going to be a part of it. When they go to geometry, fractions are still going to be a part of the angles and things as such. So to make sure that they have a concrete understanding of fractions, I set up on the side, I had like a beginning, a middle, and advanced type problems. And, you know, once we explain, well, I was able to see who had a clear understanding of the basics and who didn't. And we kind of like, you know, said, okay, we're going to each take a turn. And when we each took a turn, I used the easier examples for the ones that were just getting it and the harder examples for the ones that were struggling. Now, I use Koala Go. Koala Go has a beautiful playground called Guess or Swim. And the students start off at the top of the platform and they got 5 times to answer wrong. And if they answer wrong 5 times, they end up in the water and have to, and then they lose. But they get a chance to, and I would gear the questioning, the problems, because I have them in front of me, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So in the beginning instruction part, you'll start to place the kids where you think they are, and then you'll give them those such, and the kids had a ball. They loved it.
That's a really good. That's a really good idea, Millie, and a good way to use Koala
Very
Go.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another, and now, just to take a totally different turn on that, what I was going to say is, and I don't tutor older kids, but what I've seen other people do, and what I do with my readers who are all over the map, because I have them from JK all the way to grade 3, so they're all over, just like how your older kids would be all over with math, right? Is that I hire, and I've seen people do this with math too in the older grades, is that I rent my space. Are you talking about in person or online, Cindy? I should ask that first.
We're open to either. We do have a space that we rent,
Okay.
a suite. So we do have like a physical location, but in the
Okay.
summer that can be hard, like you said. So I think an online option would be awesome as well. That way, if people are at their summer homes or, you know, in different places, they could still participate.
Okay. So definitely check out Koala Go, like Millie was talking about for online for
I wrote
sure.
it down.
Yeah, good. And then mine is more for in person. So in person, you have your space, and what you do is hire other tutors to work with you. So then you sit with, like, 2 or 3 kids, and you can work with that, because you can work with 2 or 3 kids at a time, right? So it's technically a group, but you can still, serve them individually. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like teach to their individual level, and then your tutors work with 2 or 3 kids. So that's what I've seen people do. They have like 2 or 3 tutors working with them, and they hire a big, for like where I work out of the teaching space in Toronto, the basement is quite large, so we can easily fit like three tutors in there with a small group of kids each. So if you have a big enough space, that's another way you can do it too. So
Okay.
yeah, and so it's technically a group, but you're serving their individual needs. Maybe that will work. I don't know. There's
Gotcha.
two.
Yeah.
If you're doing online, you're going to want to keep it to at least 5. You don't want to get too much because you have too much going on. And the focus, like I said, with fractions, they have so many different things. So one day we just focus on converting fraction improper to proper, but first we had to know what one improper was, and then how to convert it this way and how to convert it back the other way. And then once they got that, then we move on to the next thing. And when everybody gets that one concept, you can move on. And I call them concept classes. I used to call them workshops, but I call them concept classes because that's what they are. You focus on one concept, make sure everybody across the board has that understanding, make sure that you have 3 levels, but don't crowd the online space because it's going to be too much to keep track of.
That's such a good point. That's really good, Millie, for online tutoring. You're right. Don't crowd the online space. I like that because and it's so true because in person, like if someone told me what's your choice, in person or online, I'd definitely say online. But when it comes to groups, I'm kind of torn because in person there's a lot you can do too, and you can have a little bit more going on, especially if you have people to help you out and you're not on your own. Then you can have a little bit more going on. And online, you have to do, like Millie said, you have to keep it pretty focused because if you get too much going on, then it's too busy. So that's a really interesting point. Thanks, Millie. That's a good one to think about. Now, before we go, does anyone else have any other questions that they want to ask right here live before we put this up on YouTube? You can always ask them after on YouTube in the comments too. Feel free.
I asked,
Yeah.
is it Millie? I'm sorry. Could you give the name of that Koala Go playground that you mentioned again? Can you type it in the chat box?
Guess or swim. It's awesome.
Guess or swim?
Yes,
Okay.
but remember to lock the kids out before you start because they's like, ooh, and they started moving stuff around. So
Okay.
when you do a Koala Go playground, this is what's suggested to me. Make a duplicate and save the original. Because if the kids start messing it up, yeah, they messed mine up, and I ended up having to track down the actual person who made it to put it back the way it was because I didn't know how to do it. But yeah, definitely always make a copy. So if they mess it up, you still got the good one. But that one was a good one. And also in what Kelly was saying, even with a group of 5, if you have somebody else, you could always do a breakout room. You know how they have in Zoom, they have a breakout room. So y'all can do the concepts and then break it out into beginner and advanced, or intermediate and advanced, and then have your tutor helper with the beginners and you with the advanced, or vice versa.
That's a good idea. That's brilliant, Millie. Thank you very much. I'm always get nervous with breakout rooms. I don't know why, but they give me I can't feel like I don't know what it is. I feel like I can't control them or something, but that's a really good tip. And you can definitely use breakout rooms, and then you can expand your business even more online and make your groups even bigger and serve more kids. So thank you, Millie. That's really good. And I will put Koala Go in the description box on YouTube so that people can check that out. I don't use it myself, but I hear from Lisa and I hear from Millie that it's a really, really good program. So, and it makes your online tutoring a lot more fun. So definitely check that out. And yes, and I'll put any other important links in there. I'll put the link for the Group Tutoring Bootcamp so that if you want to check that out, you have 1 week to access it and then it will be gone. But thank you very much. Oh, yes, Millie.
I'm sorry. I'm going to put if it's okay, I was going to put my email in the box. So anybody here who has anything, about Koala Go, I've been on it for a while. I can maybe, make a schedule of time where I could just show them around and kind of let them see, or at least share, nice. Or I could even share the Koala videos that are helpful. There's a whole URL. There's one after another, all how to do the thing. So I'm more than happy to help anybody. It's a really good program.
Thank you, Millie. That's very generous of you. Thank you very much. So yeah, send me your contact information, Millie, and I'll put it on the YouTube description box. And oh, there it is right there. Okay, thank you very much. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining. This was a great turnout for our first Cozy Zoom chat of 2024. Next week, we're talking about flyers and how to have success with getting more students with flyers. So I hope I'll see you for that next week. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Nice to see you.